You begin with the pressure that is actually working. If you just big picture say, okay, we're in the second Trump term, and some people have a very strong feeling against him, some for him, others wondering how this was all going to go because they've been pushing. Well, there have been a series of bruising setbacks that might partly just be because of reality, meaning what the markets think about tariffs, what other countries think about these threats, but some of them have to do with effective pushback. In first term, they called that resistance. Now it's protesters that have been a part, by Musk's own admission, of driving him out of government. Or take these law firms. If you look on your screen and you think about what do the scales of justice even mean? Well, usually they mean both sides fighting, not one side just giving up. And the law firms who are fighting back, in some ways, are winning. And then you have voters pushing back at town halls all around the country. So that's kind of where we start tonight, because Musk is exiting under pressure. Republicans are facing pressure after their mega bill is finding a lot of criticism and concern, both from Main Street, from red districts, and from Wall Street. You have Republican Senator Ernst. She's in her home state is Iowa, which tends to go more conservative lately. But the front page of the Des Moines Register shows her at the infamous town hall, where her defense of the idea that Republicans are using this moment to slash your health care and funnel money to multimillionaires is, quote, well, we are all going to die. That was how she defended the health care cuts, setting off this firestorm.
They are not eligible, so they will be coming off. So people are not, well, we all are going to die. So, for heaven's sakes.
For heaven's sakes is right. Republican Iowa Senator Joni Ernst caused quite a stir with those comments.
Republicans' complete indifference on display at town halls.
Her response was, well, we're all going to die. And that may be true, but you don't have any right to kill me.
I made an incorrect assumption that everyone in the auditorium understood that, yes, we are all going to perish from this earth. So I apologize. And I'm really, really glad that I did not have to bring up the subject of the tooth fairy as well.
That's what passes for a kind of response today. You can see she's feeling enough pressure that she has to say something. Her staff might have said we could apologize, we could get serious, we could make a joke, or we could do this. She recorded that video in a graveyard and brings up the tooth fairy to try to suggest that anyone criticizing her is somehow juvenile or not getting it. But the real world impact of the health care bill is what people care about, apparently in Iowa, where this has become a problem for her. 9 million people across the country could lose their health coverage. So the very real question is whether the government is actively taking steps under Republicans that endanger people's current health care, not whether the fact is that we all know we are mortal. Other Republicans continue squabbling.
Look, I want to vote for it. I'm for the tax cuts. I voted for the tax cuts before. I want the tax cuts to be permanent. But at the same time, I don't want to raise the debt ceiling $5 trillion.
I've got some concerns, and I think we need to look really, really careful at that. I continue to maintain my position. We should not be cutting Medicaid benefits.
My loyalty is to the American people, to my kids and grandkids. We cannot continue to mortgage their future.
That's some of the back and forth. While I mentioned that real world external forces can also push back on what the government's doing, this government, under Trump and the Republicans in control of Congress, has been pushing fast, breaking things, as they say, in tech land. Well, Wall Street thinks the bill won't actually help and may even damage the broader economy. And so that's what's happening right now for people tracking, as we begin the summer, what Republicans want to do with what could be the most far-reaching economic and health care bill of this first year of the Trump term. Beyond that, the Wall Street Journal reports that 11 big companies are now moving work away from the law firms that settled with the Trump administration, or giving or will give more business to firms that have been targeted but refuse to strike deals. Call that a fighting spirit. This includes major players: Oracle, Morgan Stanley, Microsoft, McDonald's. A general counsel saying if firms facing White House pressure don't have a hard line, they don't have any line at all. In other words, that's the kind of legal business case against just surrendering. separate from who you voted for. These are firms making business decisions saying, if you just give in to the government on this, you might give in to other regulators, government, or entities quickly. The protests against Musk have gone on for weeks. We've tracked them in some cities, small and organic, and others larger and more organized, sometimes on the side of the road, other times at Tesla dealerships. And what we've found is that it worked in the sense that Elon Musk left and admits to people that the pressure and this kind of toxification of the Tesla brand by engaging in this kind of politics for him was something that he had to stem. He may be rich and powerful, but he had to deal with it. And he's leaving that government role behind.
Business leaders and innovators, the world.
Wondering what your thought is on the ban on foreign students, the proposal. I mean, you were one of those kids, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we want to stick to, the subject of the day, which is like spaceships, as opposed to, presidential policy.
Oh, okay. I was told anything's good, but...
No. It's a bit unfair because, like, Doge became the whooping boy for everything. So if there was some cut, real or imagined, everyone would blame Doge.
That is not the sound of someone doing a victory lap. He can see people would blame his efficiency group, which he calls Doge, which is also the name of a coin he's invested in. But he sees that. He sees some things didn't work, and he says he became the heat shield for Trump. Maybe Trump outsmarted him and knew that Elon could become this sort of middle ground. But you also saw in there the spilling out of the pressures because Musk clearly thinks that that interview is about spaceships and his business. The interviewer says no, he doesn't think they agreed to any terms. But underneath that is the awareness that Elon Musk, who, remember, courted actively being a MAGA leader, wearing the hats, going to the conferences, donning the chainsaw, going out to states that were having votes. He wanted that in the headlines. Remember, that was very recent. And now he's publicly admitting, or maybe he hoped that part would get cut out of the taped interview, but he's admitting, no, that's not the topic of the day. Well, Mr. Musk, with all due respect, that's your topic of the months, and frankly, all the way back to the middle of the campaign season. It was what you wanted to do. And now that you are apparently not liking how it's going or you're losing, you don't want it to be the topic of the day anymore. In public service, it's not that simple because the people had something to say about this towards the government, towards his businesses, towards the markets, towards the value of Teslas, and Musk is on the run. So there are still, however, the lingering questions about what we just lived through as a government and a nation. Trump wondering whether all of the talk of cuts didn't work or weren't true. The Journal, again, a Murdoch-owned outlet, says, was it all, quote, BS, Trump asked, wondering whether Musk could have ever come close to the cuts he promised. Imagine that, two people who are effective, if at nothing else, at spinning PR narratives, eyeing each other and wondering who was spinning who from the beginning. Trump described Musk as, quote, 50% genius, 50% boy. Musk also said, quote, I have to get some heat off me and my companies. That's what Musk said privately, according to the Journal's reporting. Musk has not gone that far in public, but he has a similar message that basically it's time to focus on business. Spaceships are the subject of the day, not politics. This was a short stint for politics. Cabinet secretaries serve years, sometimes across 2 terms. Musk is out in 130 days, and he finds himself down $70 billion since the inauguration. Musk also says Doge's work will continue. Others say without him there as the muscle, it will fizzle out. That's what one former staffer says. And that could be welcome news. It can be hard sometimes to absorb all of this in real time. In fact, there were people during it who said, is this really happening? Someone who wasn't elected anything, didn't pass any transparency vetting or divesting rules to even run a cabinet agency, seems to be overseeing not only the administration at times, but disassembling parts of the government that were bipartisan passed by lawmakers for years. Some of that did happen. Some of those jobs are gone. A lot of it was stalled once the courts got a hold of it. And now the guy doing it is gone, and he's asking you, please don't discuss this, what he actually did and what the results are. Let's just talk about spaceships.